What is up? It's Figure Hunter, and I am at the Waterfowl Impoundment, which I didn't even really know what that was, and I've seen it around town. Apparently, in where I live, they actually create swamplands. When they remove wildlife from one area, they create swamplands in another so that waterfowl will have a place to have a habitat, and periodically they'll flood this area. So that's what's behind me, is a waterfowl impoundment. There's not actually a lot of walking around to be able to do in this place. So what I'm going to do today is talk about how I cut weight as well as put on strength, and have been, I guess, just performing better than I've ever performed as far as like athletically and CrossFit, and feeling like I'm more capable physically. So it wasn't just about the weight loss, it was also about like physical capability increasing. So we're going to look at it in a few basic areas. We're going to look at the Dexa scan. We're going to look at before and after pictures, but then I'm going to talk about the tenets of like what I did to accomplish it, what I didn't do to accomplish it, as well as what I indirectly did, sort of not thinking about it, but then realized, okay, well, I did this. I just didn't choose to consciously do it. It sort of happened. And then things and tricks that happened to make it easier. So first things first, let's dive into just the Dexa scan, but then look at before and after pictures, because that's sort of humbling. But let's look at the Dexa scan results. All right, so this is the Dexa scan. It's high level accurate. They do like an X-ray type scan, and it doesn't have any like significant radiation to it, but at the same time, it's highly accurate when it comes to your bone density, when it comes to your mass of your fat, mass of your muscles, mass of your bones, and it can gauge these things. So here's sort of the primary changes. So I went from like 192 in weight. At the day I weighed in, it was 173.9, but I think I was hydrated. I was really weighing in about 171. So 192 to 171, 172, about 20 pound weight difference. Although this shows 18.6. Significant fat loss difference, and there was a minor muscle loss, although I don't know. All my PRs went up. So I PR'd my back squat and front squat. So the strength component actually continued to increase throughout this weight loss period, and continues to show signs of strengthening. So the other thing is really big is the percent body fat. So I started at 17.5, which I didn't feel terrible about. And then a couple months into the weight loss, I hit 13.5, and I was like, man, that's awesome. And then in this last measurement, I thought, man, if I could get 10 point something, like 10.9, just in the tens where there's a 10, but I actually was below 10, single digits, 9% body fat, 9.4% body fat. So the rest of this component, shows like how your bone density changed, and I did have increases in bone density, and I have good bone density in different areas. But that's the primary thing, is to see that my percent body fat went from 17.5 to 9.4, and the fact that it's single digits, under 10% body fat, from what I'm going to share on the diet components that I did. Okay, so you can see, obviously, for me, it was transformative, and it made a big difference to see that sort of technically in the Dexa scan. And so now we're going to look at before and after pictures. So here's me before, ugly. Here's me after. So, being able to do different movements and having greater capabilities, definitely feeling leaner, feeling more proud of like how I felt moving and looked, even in some ways. Again, before, ooh, that's rough. Do not want to see that. And then after. So, just feeling like I had just more capabilities. So those are it. And what I did, so the first thing we're going to talk about is what I did. What did I concretely do? What was the simple things that I concretely focused on? So simply, number one was 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So 175, that was like my target weight, because I didn't start there. I went from like 192 to 172. So 1 gram of protein for body weight. So I did that pretty much like religiously. I just focused on protein dense foods, and that'll lead to some of the things that helped as well. Number two, I did intermittent fasting 3 days a week. So I listened to a bunch of stuff, and it seemed like not doing it every day, because your body will get into a habit, and we'll talk about that being an important thing. So I did intermittent fasting 3 days a week, 18 to 20 hours. So a longer fast, but just never like 2 days in a row, really. 3, I did like sort of a break even for calories. Like I set my basal metabolic rate. I used my Fitness Pal. I logged all my food, which I just helped make me aware. It didn't become a thing where I was like worried about calories or anything. It didn't happen like that for me. And I didn't ever really feel like I was like suffering. So I would just try to break even. I'd go maybe a little bit negative on the intermittent fasting days, and then maybe a little bit positive on the other days. And I feel like that was another crucial indirect thing, the fluctuation. And then in workouts, I would do 5 CrossFit classes a week for the most part. And then I would add 20 minutes of low-level cardio after class or before class. So just 20 minutes of riding a bike or just something where my heart rate was like 110 beats a minute. So 20 minutes on those days. And then on the rest days, I actually, instead of just doing nothing, I did like 40 minutes of low-level cardio. Just super simple, just adding cardio, and then lots of water. So those are the things I did. That's what I concretely, like consciously chose to do as your primary tenets. So the other thing is obviously, what did I not do? I think that's another really important thing. I didn't feel like I was careful not to suffer. I was like careful not to feel like I was suffering. And mixed nuts were my friend. Like I would allow myself some flexibility to not feel like I was tortured. Like I would have a handful of mixed nuts if I felt like I was like really starting to mentally break down. But the thing that I felt like was the major tenet of what I didn't do was worry too much about specifically what I ate. Like I had those goals, like kind of try to break even on calories, maybe a little deficit, a little bit over protein, obviously the protein goal. And so I didn't worry too much about what I ate. And then on the fast days, those were even better flex days. So I had to I couldn't have a huge deficit on the fast days. I never allowed myself to have magnificent deficits. So on the fast days, I had to catch up like 2,000 calories or 2,500 calories because my base rate was 1,990 calories. And then if I did 600 calories of a workout, that's a lot to even break even or to have a small deficit. So I would eat Jersey Mike's. I would eat like whatever I wanted on those days. And that was fun. I enjoyed that. I have not gone on many dates, but I had, if I had a date, I would like eat dessert. I would eat like what I want. And I sort of plan for it a little bit, but that made it sort of mentally like I could be free. And I didn't avoid fats. Like I did not avoid fats. Like I felt like mixed nuts were my friend. Like I said, I didn't like consciously avoid like things that maybe were fatty. I did avoid bread. I did avoid pasta. I did avoid sugars, but those are more on the indirect things because I wasn't like really consciously choosing. I was just focusing on protein intake. And another thing you said like about what I didn't do, I don't think you should avoid carbs. Like I didn't avoid carbs. I just chose not to eat bread or pasta. I wanted like good carbs if I was gonna waste my calories. Again, like it looked at it like a budget, like if I was gonna spend my calories and if I wasn't eating like a meat, which was satiating and satisfying, then I was gonna take in a carb that felt like more healthy. I would still have bread sometimes. I still have pasta sometimes. It wasn't at all like I avoided carbs. So that was another really big thing I didn't do is avoid carbs. And then what did I indirectly do, or what did I learn in the process? Well, I indirectly didn't eat a lot of sugar. I just felt like I don't know why. I didn't even consciously say like, I'm not eating sugar because I don't know. I wouldn't have done well into that mentality. Like I just didn't eat sugar that much because it just was not something I spent my calories on, or I was focusing on like proteins. I didn't eat, like I said, I did not eat a lot of pasta and a lot of carbs. That was not something that I was conscious. And again, it never felt like a diet. I still think it's crazy. Like, this is what I look like. Oh gosh. And then, this is what it ended up being able to look like, or like, I just feel like that's great. But indirectly, the other thing I indirectly, started becoming aware of is that if you eat proteins and you focus on that as a primary food source, then you're not as hungry, or you're more satiated and you feel happier. I'm not happier, but you feel like you're not on a diet. I never felt like I was suffering. And that's what happened down the road is I just kept doing it. I got to a goal weight, which is like 175, and then I just kept going because I never felt like it was a lifestyle, and I enjoy it. Like, I like feeling like I'm filling up my body with protein, and it's making me stronger and more capable, or it's helping me rebuild muscle fibers, and I really just enjoyed that. It made it easier. And then I think one thing I indirectly did is I just sort of focused on a weekly deficit, like a general weekly deficit. And I wasn't talking like major weekly, I was just a little bit. And then the last thing I think I indirectly learned or did, and I feel like this is a big one, is I feel like if you earn your food with more calories burned, your body doesn't ever adjust thinking it's in a constant deficit. And that's a big thing. You don't want your body to be in a constant deficit. You want fluctuation, because if your body's in a constant deficit, it will adjust, and it'll be like, okay, we're just going to start needing less calories, which means you have to eat less to get more of a deficit. So I was constantly fluctuating, and that was a big point that I indirectly learned, is I think the fluctuation made my body never adjust its like base burn rate. And I feel like also doing extra cardio to earn more food means that my body felt like we got more than our base rate. So like I was always eating more than my basal metabolic rate estimate of like 1990 calories. So every day, the whole time, all this time, 6 months, I ate more than 1990 calories because I was doing something energy-wise outside of that, and never needing to pull a deficit off of that number. The deficit was off of like 2,300 because I went on a 45-minute walk that morning and just did something low level that burned some calories above that. So it created the ability to have that still be a deficit. So indirectly, that's what I did. So what also happened in that process? So I continue to have to adjust my pants. I don't know. Halfway through the process, I bought 2 new slacks at a thinner waistline, and now those are need to be adjusted, and I had to get all my suits adjusted. So that was a pain. But I didn't stop when I got to the goal weight because it didn't feel like I was tortured or suffering. And that was really unique to have that experience. I felt stronger and faster. I felt like, I chained together unique movements called bar muscle ups. First time I'd ever done that. Was able to more freely do headstand push-ups, as well as wall-facing headstand push-ups. But then because I was consistently working out, and I feel like that is an important factor, is like the consistency aspect. Because I was consistently working out, I got, new PRs in front squat and back squat and deadlift and different movements. And it was just cool to see new heights on top of weight loss, new strength heights on top of weight loss. And this consistency helped drive me, and the fact that I was seeing results helped drive me further. So it's cyclical for me. And then the tricks. So what were the tricks? The most fundamental trick is you've got to find protein foods that you really like. You have to sort through all the different protein options and find ones you like that weren't like 1 million calories, like super fatty. I don't know. But I found some proteins that I really like, and I'll share in a second. The second thing is you have to have healthy snacks everywhere. In your car, all over the place, you got to have healthy snacks just on the ready, because otherwise you're going to be tempted to just eat something that this isn't as good for you or something like that. So on the protein side, chicken and turkey, they are like ground turkey. Oh my God, it is so good for you and is so protein dense. I ate so much, or have still been eating. I would make like a pound of ground turkey with like a half a can of spaghetti sauce with a small portion of spaghetti and maybe even the protein dense spaghetti. And I would eat that for a meal, and it was so satisfying and so satiating. Cottage cheese, I learned to like cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is great. They have these high protein yogurts. That's great. What's actually really good is lunch meat, like basic ghetto lunch meat, like turkey slices. I would take that and I would dip it in like a tablespoon of ranch. I would, dip it and eat it. It's super gross sounding, but it made me happy. And I'm eating ranch. It's like, not like I'm denying myself, but my focus was the was the turkey. So that was good. I had jerky, you know, jerky's another good thing, and then mixed nuts. So just snacks everywhere. You have to have options around. So that's the summary, you know. So again, you know, in looking back, I was like, you know, here where I was actually pretty fit. I just didn't look as good or wasn't as lean, to being able to feel like I'm like leaner than I've ever been in my adult life, and fitter than I've ever been that I can recall for the most part for my age. So that's what I did. So like, that's what I did. That's what I didn't do. That's what I indirectly did. Those are the tricks that helped, and those are sort of the results that occurred. So I lost about 19 pounds or 20 pounds, stronger, new PRs, all that stuff. So just want to share it all now that it's been like 6 months in, full tilt, and get a full tilt video out. So Fit Gear Hunter, thanks so much for watching.